Ciao a tutti e benvenuti al Tavolo Italiano. Today we're going to talk about conjugating regular Italian verbs in the past progressive tense. A few footnotes before we start. This lesson assumes you know how to conjugate Italian verbs in the present and imperfect tenses. You will also need to have a general understanding of the Italian verb. And as with all other tenses, there are verbs that are irregular. These will be addressed individually elsewhere. You can find more information, exercises, etc. at iltavoloitaliano.com. And like any aspect of Italian grammar, it takes practice to really gain an understanding of and ability to use what you will learn here. So, parli italiano. Pronto? Okay, let's get started. What is the past progressive tense? In a nutshell, it is the use of a verb to express an action that is in the process of execution at a given point in time in the past. For instance, if I say, I couldn't then, I was studying, the words was studying represent an action that was taking place at a particular point in time, in this case, then. In English, we accomplish this by conjugating the verb to be in the past tense and then adding a present participle. The present participle is simply a regular verb plus ing. Some examples might be playing, talking, writing, studying. In English, we conjugate this tense as follows. I was writing. You were writing. She was writing. We were writing. Y'all were writing. They were writing. The past progressive tense in Italian is incredibly easy to learn how to put together, especially if you already know how to conjugate stare in the imperfect tense, which is io stavo, tu stavi, lui/lei stava, noi stavamo, voi stavate, loro stavano. After that, you simply add the gerundio form of the verb, and you are done. To create un gerundio of a regular verb, you first remove the infinitive ending, cantare minus are, which leaves the root or infinitive root, cant, and add the gerundio ending, which is ando for are verbs, endo for ere and ire verbs. So in this case, we have cant plus ando or cantando, singing, the gerundio. Okay, before we continue, I need to remind you about the word of caution I brought up when we studied the present progressive tense. It's easy for Americans to misuse this verb tense in Italian for two reasons. Reason one, we actually have more than one use in verb form or derivative that is made with the verb plus ing, such as I was studying, a present participle in the past progressive tense. By working hard, a present participle in a participle phrase. That's an interesting book. A present participle used as an adjective. Swimming is fun. A gerund used as a verbal noun. We accomplish all of the above by simply adding ing or ing to a verb, along with an optional preposition in the participle phrase, or the auxiliary verb in the progressive tenses. In Italian, they actually address each of these instances a little differently than we do, but that's a topic for future lessons. Here we're only interested in the past progressive tense. Reason two is we use progressive tenses much more in English than they do in Italian. In general terms, or to express general truths, such as, she was studying at Harvard, no particular time. He was working for Ford. Once again, no real pinpointed time. In Italian, it's reserved more for an action in progress at a specific time or to emphasize the progress of an action. What were the children doing last night? Specifically last night. I was speaking with Jim at 8 o'clock this morning. 8 o'clock this morning, a specific time. Now let's take a look at the past progressive tense in Italian. To conjugate the regular ARE verbs in the past progressive tense simply equals stare conjugated for the appropriate subject pronoun in the imperfect tense, plus a stem for the main verb, plus a gerundio ending. That equals a conjugated verb. So for example, if we were to take stavamo, which is stare for noi or we in the imperfect tense, plus parlare to speak, minus are, leaving par, the stem for the verb, and ando, which is the gerundio ending for regular ARE verbs, we have stavamo parlando, we were speaking. Let's take a look at parlare conjugated in the past progressive tense. Io stavo parlando, I was speaking. Tu stavi parlando, you were speaking. Lui, lei stava parlando, he, she was speaking. Noi stavamo parlando, we were speaking. Voi stavate parlando, y'all were speaking. And loro stavano parlando, they were speaking. Conjugate the regular ERE verbs in the past progressive tense simply equals stare, conjugated for the appropriate subject pronoun in the imperfect tense, plus a stem for the main verb, plus the gerundio ending, equals a conjugated verb. Our example, stavamo, once again, stare for noi or we in the imperfect tense, plus vendere, to sell, minus ere, leaving us with vend, the stem for the main verb, endo, the gerundio ending for regular ERE verbs, equals stavamo vendendo, we were selling. Now let's look at vendere conjugated in the past progressive tense. Io stavo vendendo, I was selling. Tu stavi vendendo, you were selling. Lui, lei stava vendendo, he or she was selling. Noi stavamo vendendo, we were selling. Voi stavate vendendo, y'all were selling. And loro stavano vendendo, they were selling. And finally, to conjugate the regular IRE verbs in the past progressive tense. And by the way, this includes isc and non-isc regular IRE verbs. Equals stare, conjugated for the appropriate subject pronoun in the imperfect tense, plus the stem for the main verb, plus the gerundio ending, equals conjugated verb. So here's our example. I have stiamo, it should be stavamo. Stavamo, which is stare for noi, or we, in the imperfect tense, plus seguire, to follow, minus ire, equals segue, stem for the main verb, plus endo, the gerundio ending for regular IRE verbs, equals stavamo seguendo, we were following. Seguire, conjugated in a past progressive tense. Io stavo seguendo, I was following. Tu stavi seguendo, you were following. Lui, lei stava seguendo, he or she was following. Noi stavamo seguendo, we were following. Voi stavate seguendo, y'all were following. And loro stavano seguendo, they were following. Okay, now let's see if we can apply a little of what we have learned. See if you can translate the following into Italian before the answer appears, using either the imperfect or the past progressive. English. He was working at a restaurant. Lavorava a un ristorante. We chose the imperfect because there's no specific time. We were singing at 8 o'clock. Stavamo cantando alle 8. There it's 8 o'clock. Very specific time, so we went with the past progressive. I was winning that game. Stavo vincendo quella partita. Once again, we went with the past progressive because it was that game, indicating a particular point in time. They were often traveling. Loro viaggiavano spesso. Excuse me. Once again, there we went with the imperfect because there's no particular time. And finally, they were believing him yesterday. Stavano credendolo ieri. Yesterday, specific time, so we went with the past progressive. And there you have it. I hope that helps you have a better understanding, or at least an initial understanding of the past progressive tense. Feel free to go through this lesson as many times as necessary to get this down. And remember, there's always more material at iltavoloitaliano.com, and it's always free for the taking. In the meantime, parli italiano, ciao e grazie.